what you will learn in this episode.
Unlock the power of active recall. Discover why recognizing words isn't enough, and how a simple shift can supercharge your vocabulary.
Master vocabulary with proven techniques. Learn the secret to turning passive words into active conversation skills using movie dialogues and chunking strategies.
Speak like a native, fast. Find out how to bridge the gap between knowing words and actually using them confidently in real-life conversations.
Okay, let's face it. You want to speak another language, right? But that huge mountain of vocabulary, it can feel endless.
Yeah, and honestly, pretty discouraging sometimes when words just don't seem to stick.
Exactly. So if you're tired of that slow crawl, feeling like you're not getting anywhere with words, well, you're in the right place today. We're doing a deep dive into how you can actually memorize thousands of words and fast, plus use them to really speak fluently.
And we're drawing on insights from a hyperpolyglot, someone who's really kind of cracked the code on learning languages efficiently.
Right. So our mission today, give you actionable strategies, stuff you can actually use to speed up learning words and make them usable.
We want to move beyond that common advice of just, immerse yourself and hope for the best. That can be slow.
It really can. Time for a more targeted approach.
Definitely.
Okay, so first big idea from our source. Vocabulary is everything. Well, not everything, but it's absolutely fundamental.
You can know all the grammar rules, but without words. What are you going to say?
Exactly. You can't understand much, can't express yourself. Reading is hard. Listening.
It all hinges on having enough words. It's the bedrock.
And passive exposure, like just listening or watching stuff. It often takes a really long time to build that foundation.
Yeah, that's the contrast, isn't it? Immersion is great later, for fluency, for nuance, but for that initial core vocab, maybe not the fastest way.
You need words first to even understand the immersion properly or to start forming your own sentences.
Precisely.
So how do we build that foundation quickly? The source material really pushes using frequency lists.
Oh, yes, the lists of the most common words, like the top 1,000, 2,000, maybe even up to 5,000 or 10,000 words.
The idea being focus on the words you'll actually use and hear most often. That gives you the biggest, quickest return.
It makes sense. Strategic learning. You focus your energy where it counts most, especially at the beginning.
Instead of just randomly grabbing words you might rarely need.
Right, because not all words are created equal in terms of how often they pop up. Focusing on frequency is just smart.
Okay, but just staring at a list won't do it, obviously. We need techniques. The first one mentioned is word families.
Oh, I like this one. Learning words in groups that share a root, like, what was the example? Organized, disorganized, organization.
Yeah, you see the connection, the pattern. Your brain picks it up faster. Learn one, and it helps you guess or understand the others.
It taps into that pattern recognition we're good at. Understand the core meaning, maybe a prefix or suffix, and boom, you can often figure out related words. It's efficient.
Like getting multiple words for the effort of, well, maybe 1.5.
Something like that. Then there are mnemonics, memory tricks.
The source calls these super speedy and effective, especially for those words that feel totally random, no connection to English.
Right, the arbitrary ones. You create some kind of vivid mental image, maybe a funny story linking the sound to the meaning.
Our brains remember weird visual stuff, right?
Yeah.
So mnemonics use that.
They build that bridge where logic fails, basically. Helps you grab onto a word that otherwise just floats away.
Okay, so you've memorized the meaning, but you need to use the word. That brings us to example sentences.
Crucial. Absolutely crucial. Seeing the word in action in a real sentence.
That gives you context, nuance. It makes review way more effective than just looking at the word alone again.
Exactly. How does it fit grammatically? What other words does it usually hang out with? That's what sentences show you.
And to make sure these words in their sentences actually stick long term.
Spaced repetition. SRS. That's the next key.
Reviewing things just as you're about to forget them. The intervals get longer and longer.
Yeah, instead of cramming, you work with your brain's forgetting curve. The source stresses reviewing those example sentences using spaced repetition.
That's how you solidify it. Consistent revisiting.
It's just much more efficient. You reinforce the memory right when it needs it. Less wasted effort than just mindless repetition.
Okay, one more technique. Active recall.
Ah, yes. Very powerful. This is where you test yourself.
Right. After you've learned a word or seen it in a sentence, you try to, say, translate it into the target language or use it yourself somehow. Then you check if you are right.
It's that act of trying to retrieve the information from your memory. That effort is what strengthens the connection.
It's like a mini quiz, constantly. And you find out what you don't know, which is just as important.
It forces your brain to be active, not passive.
Yeah.
Or problem solving, trying to recall. That makes things stick much better than just rereading.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. The fast track to usable vocab seems to be start with frequency lists.
Prioritize the common stuff.
Use things like word families and mnemonics to get them into your head initially.
Make that first connection strong.
Then, crucially, reinforce it all with spaced repetition and active recall, always using example sentences.
Consistent review and self-testing. That's the engine.
And the goal, according to the source, is maybe that 5,000 to 10,000 word range. That gets you understanding most everyday stuff and speaking pretty fluently.
Yeah, it's about hitting that core vocabulary strategically. Maximum impact for your effort.
So, if you're listening and feeling that vocab frustration, maybe tired of wasting time, consider this approach. Focusing on these efficient methods could really change your language journey.
Which leads to maybe a final thought or a question for you listening. What could you really achieve? How much faster could you progress if you committed to building your vocabulary this way, using these powerful targeted techniques?
Something to think about. It might just be the key to unlocking that fluency you're aiming for.